What's doing, everybody? I'm Alec. Thank you for watching First Class Fatherhood. Today's guest on the podcast is actor Sean Murray. Sean has had a recurring role on NCIS for 17 years. He just signed on for 2 more. I'm honored to have him on the podcast today. Don't forget to smack that subscribe button down below. And let's jump into it right now with actor Sean Murray on First Class Fatherhood. Joining me now, First Class Father Sean Murray. Welcome to First Class Fatherhood.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
All right, let's do it like this. How many kids do you have and how old are they?
I've got 2 kids, a boy and a girl. They just turned 10 and 13. My boy turned 10, my girl turned 13. And they were kind of interesting birthdays being under this, kind of stay-at-home lockdown. So they each kind of got a parade in front of the house from all their friends, which was pretty cool. But yeah, they just both recently had birthdays.
Yeah, definitely one that they'll remember for sure. What type of sports or activities are they into?
My girl has been her name is Caitlin. She's been dancing and doing gymnastics her whole life. She just recently became a cheerleader, and she's of course really into that. That's a whole scene, And my boy has actually taken up golfing. He has found his zen in golfing. He really enjoys it.
Wow, very cool. I like that. Do you?
There were so many sports we tried with him that he just wasn't into. He had no patience for baseball at all. He would end up sitting down out in the center field during the game.
Yeah, I've had one of those myself. Are you a golfer yourself or no?
I'm not a golfer at all. I grew up playing baseball.
Okay. Yeah, I do the miniature golf. That's about the extent of my golf career has taken me.
Yeah, and that tests my patience as well. That's about as far as I can go to.
Sean, if you could, please just take a minute here to hit my listeners with a little bit about your background and what you do.
Again, my name is Sean Murray. I'm an actor. I've been working since I was 13 years old in the business, and I'm 42 now. I've been doing a show called NCIS for 17 years now, and we're on a break, but we just got picked up for 2 more years, so seasons 18 and 19 are coming, which is pretty wild. I mean, I didn't have kids when this all began. I wasn't married, so the whole fatherhood thing came about as I was working, and kind of I only know it under those circumstances to a certain degree. But I don't know. I forget what I was talking about.
So about how old were you then, Sean, when you first became a dad, and how did becoming a father kind of change your perspective on life?
Oh, I don't know what I did with all my free time before I had kids. My wife and I look at each other and we're like, what did we do? We had so much free time, and now it's you don't, and your perspective on everything, on life, completely changes. It's not about you anymore. It's about your children and raising them, which is as full time as it gets.
Yeah, and on that, what are some of the top values that you're hoping to instill in your kids growing up here?
Well, one that's really important to me is, and my wife definitely, is to raise our son to respect women correctly. That's a big one. There's just, I think, too many people in this world that have problems with that, and I think we're doing a pretty good job so far. He's pretty empathetic, which is good, and we just, it's funny because you do your best and you try to instill values, and as soon as you think you got it figured out, they change so quickly. And you do your best. You try and do your best and keep them on the right path when you can.
Yeah, well said, Sean. And I have 4 kids, 3 boys, and our youngest is a 5-year-old. She's our only girl, and it's been kind of awesome to see. And it's a great lesson for my kids, my boys, to get a chance to see how to treat girls and how you want them to be treated. So I think it's a big benefit for them as they move forward to remember how they want their sister to be treated, and hopefully it takes shape in their life moving forward. And now,
and she's got 3 older brothers that are going to look after her.
Yeah, that's a big bonus there too. Yep, 100%. And now, being such an actor your entire life here, is there ever any difficulty for your kids to know when you're serious and when you're fooling around, or can they tell?
My son always thinks I'm serious, no matter what I say. That's just, I don't know why that's built into him. My daughter, I like to play with more as far as, that kind of, am I being serious or not? But, I keep it pretty straight with them. We have fun, but, I don't try. They're still pretty young. I don't want to mess with their heads too much.
Yeah, and rolling on, and on that, what type of disciplinarian are you as a dad? And is it different than the discipline style that you grew up with?
Yeah, it's funny. My wife calls me the fun one, the fun parent, but you get that a lot, the dads. Um, when I grew up in a military family. My father was Navy, very disciplined. I used to get the sort of scheduled spankings if I had earned one, kind of when I was a kid, and my father always taught me great lessons. And, that lesson teaching I try to instill on the kids, and you got to have patience with children. I mean, that is, such a big thing that you learn as a parent, the patience that you need. And again, you just do the best you can.
Yeah, what has it been like for you and your family now? I know, I guess, filming has all been on a standstill as the rest of the world, as we're all kind of in this lockdown here. Have you
Right.
guys, how have you managed it at home with the kids during the lockdown?
Well, we've been self quarantined, or the stay at home orders or whatever. We basically haven't left the house in 2 months. The kids haven't, which is, they're going crazy. They can only scoot around the block so much on their scooters and skateboards. But they're actually doing good because I'm fortunate enough to be married to someone who used to be a teacher full time and was for many, many years. A total educator, my wife. So Carrie is her name, and she has been able to take over the homeschooling with the kids. Um, just unbelievably, I couldn't think of anyone better that could do it. She's just great with them, and she knows, what they need. Plus, they have their video conferencing calls with teachers in different classes. We learned early that a routine is what they need. Routine is very important. At 9 a.m. we start this. At 11, you've got the call here. You've got video conferencing at this time. They really thrive off that. So they're actually doing pretty good. It's my son's all right because he's got his video games to sometimes keep him, help him out on his when he's not doing school or doing something else, or doing homeschooling or something else. My daughter Caitlin's having a little rougher time with it, I think, because she's kind of a social butterfly. She's so used to the cheer squad getting together and all that stuff. But all in all, they're doing quite well. I'm proud of them.
Yeah, good stuff. It's the same thing here. What's been one of the most difficult things is not being able to go over their friend's house, not being able to have friends come over, and
Yeah.
it is a challenge. I'll tell you what, the teachers, they have been doing a phenomenal job on my end here. In the beginning, I thought I was like, I'm a homeschool teacher now, but
Yeah.
they have really done such a great job with the video conferencing and the emails and following up with the kids. So they've had to adapt on the fly, like everybody else
Exactly.
has. And
Exactly.
they've been doing a tremendous job. And now, how about as far do your kids, any of them showing any interest in following in your footsteps here? And how would you feel about them getting into the acting world?
Well, my son River, I think definitely has zero interest in it. I think he'll be a coder, a computer coder of some kind. That's just what I see with him. My daughter has been actually a little actress since she was a kid. She doesn't do it professionally. She's not in the business, but she goes to performing arts school. She's been doing theaters and a youth academy, dramatic arts play. She's done leads, many, many plays. She just loves the theater and everything about it. And that's sort of her, one of her other lives. And that's, again, is, being a theater kid, that's another big social thing that she doesn't have right now, which is tough.
Yeah, and she's 13, you said then, right?
Yeah, Caitlin's
And,
13.
and that was the same age when you first started getting into the business yourself. So is it kind of weird looking back now, thinking, wow, when I was her age, I was just getting started with my career here?
Yes, it's very strange. It's very strange. I couldn't imagine my daughter, business wise being involved, but it's going to happen at some point, whether I like it or not.
Yep. And we got Father's Day coming around the corner here. What is
Yeah.
what does a perfect Father's Day look like for you?
You know what? If I get some eggs Benedict in the morning, I'm good with whatever happens. Seriously,
Yeah,
I don't, buy me a pair of socks, but as long as I got the eggs Benedict,
yeah, it's the little things, right, that matter so much.
that's it.
And do your kids, do they ever watch any of the films or the shows that you've been in? Do they ever critique anything that you do, or do they enjoy watching you on the screen, or it's just kind of like normal at this point?
Well, my daughter's a little more interested because she's an actress. My son just kind of goes, "Oh, Dad's on TV," you know, and as far as NCIS, it's a little more, for adults with the cases and some of the stuff we show and talk about. So they've seen it. They've seen some of the lighter episodes, and they say, "Oh, there's Dad. He's on TV," you know. Um, the only time I think I ever impressed them was when they watched Hocus Pocus and saw me as a 14-year-old kid. They liked that.
Yeah, that's a family favorite here too. We watch that every Halloween, as many people do. It's a staple to watch during the
Yeah,
Halloween
it's had
season.
this
So
cult following for years now.
it does, yeah, definitely. What kind of project you're working on? I know you said you have two more seasons coming up now for the NCIS. Are there any other projects or any kind of other goals that you have here moving forward?
Typically we do 24 episodes per season on the show per year, and we obviously got cut short because of the pandemic and everything. We got 20 done this year, but typically we do 24, and it takes us about 10 months. So yeah, 9.5, 10 months. So when we have free time, I really like to spend it with my family. That said, I'm an actor and I have a lot of interests. So if something came along, a project that I was interested in, I would definitely consider it. But I kind of have a thing right now where, hey, I'm with my family when I can be, because I'm with my work family so much. I wouldn't want to cheat the fam out of the 2 months I'd get with them nonstop in the summer.
Yeah, good stuff. And what kind of advice do you have for the parent out there that does have a kid that's interested in pursuing acting as a career? What kind of advice would you give that parent on how to steer the kid?
Um, Hopefully they're doing it for the right reasons, not to get famous or to get rich, because that doesn't happen. I mean, very, very rarely, 0.001%. Most actors I know live hand to mouth. But if you're an actor, you're an actor. You kind of know it. And it's the only thing you do that can make you happy sometimes. And it's funny. I knew I wanted to do it. I knew I didn't want to fall back. I remember my father, when I talked to him, saying, "You have nothing to fall back on if you go this route and it doesn't work." And I understood that, and I was okay with that. And I think you have to be pretty intelligent to handle that kind of environment as well. I learned a lot working on the job. Is pretty much where I picked up everything. As I went, but. You need to get the right people to handle you. It's important to get, I would say, get a good manager if you can find one. That's a really important thing. But, you got to be ready for a lot of rejection. That's something that happens in this business and as an actor. And, it's rough on the ego, and, kids are especially, that's tough for them. So, I don't know. I don't know if it was necessarily the right thing for me to do. I might have been too young, but I don't know.
Yeah, and it's definitely the way that we consume media now has changed drastically. Where you coming up when I was a kid, there was no such thing as likes and shares and all this other stuff that
Right.
kids they're getting so addicted to the to that lifestyle of wanting to be liked and I guess YouTube famous is a big thing that's going on too with a lot of people. So a lot of people, like you say, maybe chasing things for the wrong reasons as they start to get into this stuff.
Right. Well,
Um,
yeah, I know a lot of people are fans of getting likes and all that sort of, and followers and all that stuff. And I mean, I get that. I guess, but people build their whole lives on social media. It's funny sometimes because it cannot reflect at all that person.
Yeah, 100%.
But
Yeah, it's
I don't
weird.
know.
I've only gotten on social media. I started this podcast 2 years ago, and I never had any social media accounts before I did it. So it's been kind of wild for me to see the way people behave on there. It's a little nutty, but I mean,
Oh, yeah.
it does drive a lot of good business when you're using it in the right way, and it gets your message out, and you can be used effectively for a lot of positive results. So hopefully it
Yeah, I
evolves as we
agree.
go on here.
I agree, and it's funny. We're talking about the podcast. I've actually been recording a little radio show podcast myself, and I'm sort of banking episodes, shows, and hopefully I'll get on the podcast feed and get that going. It's just something to, that so I'm not bored all day, something to keep me occupied.
Yeah, well, I look forward to hearing that. And the last thing I want to hit you with here, Sean, I love to ask all the dads that I get on the podcast, what type of advice do you have for the new dad or for that about to be father who's out there listening?
Sleep training. Sleep training. I cannot stress it enough. 6 to 8 weeks. Start it. Buy a book called Sleeping Through the Night. I don't know if that's cool for me to say this, but
Yeah.
I'll say that there's a book that I used that was highly, highly recommended to me. It's simply called Sleeping Through the Night. I feel horrible because I forget the author's name, but it's just a picture of a baby asleep on the front. And you start at 6 to 8 weeks, and I won't go through all the particulars, but within a month, you'll have a kid sleeping 12 hours through the night without waking you up. Without waking themselves up and crying and being hungry. I can't tell you, because the people I know that didn't do any sleep training are having tons of problems. Have always had problems with their, sleep problems, getting their kid to bed, this and that. My son, I put him to bed within 2 minutes, no matter what his energy level is, he is out. So sleep train. I highly recommend sleep train.
Yeah, that sounds like some great advice there. I love the message. This has been an honor for me. I got to say, Sean Murray, you're a first-class father all the way, and thank you so much for giving me a few minutes of your time here on First Class Fatherhood.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. You've been great.